Coming to you live on Facebook and on YouTube, and eventually as a podcast, is Comic Books Transformed, where you have your sexy host with his shirt opened up, Peter. That's me. Hey, what's up, guys? And right over there, even sexier, is my friend Brian. And not just because of his handsome face, but because of that fucking amazing shirt he has on.
Yes. For those who are just listening and not watching, it is a Megatron shirt from Transformers, but it's kind of stylized as if it was the cover of Megadeth's Rust in Peace.
Yes.
So I had to wear a Transformers shirt today for Transformers #1 coming out in comic stores.
Yes. That is so hot, man. When did you get that shirt?
Maybe a month or two ago.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I've never seen it before. I love it.
I thought I wore it on the show before, but maybe I haven't.
I'm not very perceptive, so it's all good. Is there someone like vacuuming or something in your house?
Oh, you do hear that. So there's a tree getting taken down in my yard, and they're just putting that through the wood chipper right now. So I was hoping they wouldn't hear it, but I can mute myself when I'm not talking if that's helpful.
No, it's all good, man. I'm sure people like hearing the noise as it goes by. Oh man, are you gonna have to like unmute every time you laugh at my jokes?
Yes, I'm used to doing it at a meeting, so. Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. I don't have a lot of funny jokes, so you won't have to unmute too much.
Hey, you've already had me laughing twice, so more so than meetings.
Yes, nice. Okay, well, let's talk about a show that's not very fucking funny. Ahsoka. It just ended.
It did, yes.
What was the title? It was like The Jedi, The Witch, and The Warlord.
The Warden.
The Warden?
Wasn't it? Oh, no, Warlord. Sorry.
Warlord for Thrawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously that's a play on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I like that. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek and cute. Do you like
episode 8 to me?
It's still episode... Oh, okay, gotcha. So, did you enjoy it, man?
Yes, I did. It did. I mean, I liked some things that happened, but at the same time, it was just kind of left a little ambiguous. It was maybe a little slow for a finale. And
yes.
I think the biggest issue I have is that, with the exception of The Mandalorian, pretty much every Disney show, Marvel included, is a one-and-done season. So it's like to have this end like this and expecting, like, what are we expecting is next? Obviously, there's a lot of plot threads here.
Yeah.
And they just decided to no, this didn't do well enough. That's like a big, bad cliffhanger for this kind of a universe,
Really good point. It's just, go ahead.
I didn't dislike anything that happened, but I guess I wish some more happened.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like I don't know, like they just move a bunch of chess pieces around, and there's a lot of filler, but it doesn't feel satisfying. And you brought up this really great point about how there's been these shows for the most part, and they're like one and done, and obviously there's like so much stuff that they've set up. But I feel like Star Wars is kind of like cancel proof, right? Like, even if a Star Wars show does poorly, then there will be like some kind of comic continuation of it or a novel, right? Like, we'll definitely see a continuation of it no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest example of this would be Solo, probably.
Yeah.
Solo was meant to set up a lot, and I don't know how much they've actually continued upon that. I know we are getting the Lando show and all that, but to me, that's kind of the fear here, I guess, is that they had all these plans for this. If it didn't do, I don't know how the show's been doing. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But it like, that's a lot to leave on the table. So open-ended, sort of.
Pretty soon we're actually going to find out how well these shows do, right? Because part of the writer's strike was that they can release the numbers now for how the shows do.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah.
That's good to hear, though.
Yeah. Because the whole idea is we're going to see, because usually there's conflicting ideas, right? There's the idea that these shows don't make enough money for them to be profitable to pay certain people. And then the other idea is that, like, they're making a ton of money and they're not disclosing that information. So by them disclosing the information, we'll see if these shows are being watched, if they're not being watched. Yeah. As far as this show, though, like, it's exciting, it's fun, it's no Andor, but there's something like it was good for the last 2 episodes for me, and then this episode felt like a return to form for the first, I guess, 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, that's fair.
It like there's a lot of cool action stuff that happens in it, but it's like I kind of didn't care. Did you feel excited or suspense, like in a sense of suspense for any part of it?
A few minor parts here and there, but
Yeah.
mainly with God, I can't remember what I was thinking. But, when like I thought when Ezra gets on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Sabine looks like she's running towards the ship, but not. So I'm like, they're just gonna leave Ahsoka there to die? Like, probably not. But
Yeah.
There were some minor bits of suspense that I didn't completely guess, I guess. But
Yeah.
Ultimately, yeah, like I feel like they just not a lot happened in the show in 8 episodes, I guess.
Exactly.
Maybe there should have been 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know if their goal is to just try and stretch it out. I don't know. Does that make them more money to have more episodes? Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, really good question. I think that when it comes to streaming platforms, the idea is to have as much content available as possible. So like if you have extra hours of something and it doesn't cost you a tremendous amount more, they're always going to want to make more, but it's always a cost of like, is it worth it to make this much? Because they just basically want people to be always watching their platforms.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point because I mean, essentially, I don't often find myself on Disney Plus outside of watching these shows.
Right. Yeah, good point. I think my kids sometimes watch stuff on Disney Plus, but for the most part, they watch Netflix.
Yeah, but like this brings us right to Loki now.
Yes, they do that well. They do that well where they kind of like once this one ends, this next thing begins.
Yeah, with the exception of wait, was it this summer or was it last summer? We had Miss Marvel overlapping with Moon Knight.
Yeah.
That was bad. I think that was a bad idea to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Loki starts tomorrow. I mean, I know not everybody's invested in both Star Wars and Marvel, but we are.
But for us as hot men, yes, we are into it. So okay, let's talk about the return to form that I mentioned before. And you talked about the idea of like them kind of stretching things out. One of the reasons why this show might feel stretched out is because there's these sort of awkward pauses, and I've mentioned this before. There's these like awkward pauses when things happen where it's like, I feel like just one beat earlier is when in a normal show, in a normal movie, someone would say something. There's like a pause and then they have the reaction. This happens twice in this episode. So I'm going to spoil things right away. If you haven't seen the last episode of Ahsoka, go check it out. But 2 parts, Brian. There's one part when they're fighting that like zombie trooper that's all armored up and they're fighting him and Sabine's being held up against a pillar and he's choking her to death, and it feels like a little too long for her to be choked to death, and she's like reaching out with the force. Like it feels like
I can understand that because earlier in the show, that's a callback essentially. She was trying to move the cup on the table earlier. She wasn't able to do it. She's just kind of showing that in intense moments, in combat, like we've said before, that her force kind of like powers kind of kick in. So if she was struggling to do it because she's getting choked out, but she accomplishes it. So it's just kind of I didn't mind that. The things that I minded though is that like how often they we've had Ezra now for
like 3 episodes.
Well, he was in the end of 6, right?
I think so.
Well, this just he would ask Sabine, like, "Oh, well, what happened? Where are we going? Why are we going home? Like, where's Ahsoka?" And Sabine would just be like, "We'll talk about that later." And I understand why she's trying to like kind of enjoy the moment and doesn't want to get like yelled at or shit. But that stretched on way too long, and that was the kind of pauses that was too much to me, I think.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because there's a couple of those moments in this episode. The very last fucking scene of the show is when Ahsoka goes and she's like looking off into the distance. And then I guess she sees Anakin. She like Sabine joins her. She looks off, and then Sabine just kind of stands there, looks awkward, and Ahsoka's like, "What did you see?" And she says, "Oh, I think it was shadows and stars or some kind of poetic shit." And then she walks back, and it's just their reactions. There's always this delay. There's this weird kind of like it's like it's editing. It's just like trimming a couple of extra seconds, but it just feels awkward every time.
I think they're trying to capture like those kind of like those nostalgic epic shots of like Luke standing with the three suns.
Yeah.
And that and maybe I don't know, it just doesn't work with these special effects or something like that, and the big empty space.
Well,
I did kind of like that scene though. I like that Ahsoka's there looking at something. We the audience don't see it. Sabine senses something. Again, showing like, hey, like she's proving that she's becoming more proficient with the Force, that she can sense that Anakin's there, but can't actually see him there yet.
right. No, I like the idea behind it, and I like it. It's just like just trim a little bit. I used to edit stuff for this channel and for the Laster Cast, and I would always try to kind of trim things to get rid of the excess. And I feel like if I'm like a professional editor, I'm going to trim things as much as I can so that you get right to the point. And I don't mean like have these crazy deliberate cuts, but it always just seems like it goes on like a little too long. And,
Yeah,
go ahead. Well, I was going to say that one major difference, though, is that you don't have that John Williams score, right? When you think of that scene that you referenced just now with like Luke on Tatooine looking up at the two suns, it's got that Force theme that's just so fucking beautiful.
That is an amazing point.
Right. Well, and even like Empire Strikes Back, you have the scene where like Luke goes over to Leia and she's just staring off into the distance at the Millennium Falcon. He puts his arm around her, and it's just that fucking music, that like Princess Leia theme.
That's the nail on the head, to be perfectly honest. That's what it is. That's what's missing. Those kind of scenes like that. At the same time, though, I do also think it's kind of like a double-edged sword, walking that line between having too much space and then having it feel too rushed and cutting too much.
Yeah, agreed.
So I mean, like you're saying, 3 seconds or something like that is probably fine.
Yeah,
here and there,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was one other scene that bothered me too, and it's at the very end. And I think probably if you had some John Williams music, but honestly, it is also a matter of directing too. At the very end, Ezra has left Thrawn's ship. He has a shuttle. It lands in the Republic ship's docking bay. Hera's there with a bunch of troops. She sees him. It was actually this great moment when the droid Cutter comes up to him and he like kind of pats the droid. Great. I was like, okay, that's Ezra. Okay, great. Then Hera like looks at him and she just stares. Then he takes off his helmet. Then she goes, Ezra? It doesn't feel natural, because it's like there's like a beat before she goes, Ezra. And it's not like, if it was done well, like maybe her face would like kind of reflect, she's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Who is this? But it's not. It's just her blankly staring. Then she goes, Ezra? It's like that's the problem with this show in general, that little space there.
And again, I'm already thinking like your previous point, the music probably would have helped a bit.
Yeah. And Eckhart Slatter, my YouTube channel guy that I love to watch, he said he would have much rather preferred if she ran over and hugged him too, based on their relationship in Rebels too.
Yeah, I think all the reunions were kind of a little subdued. I figured like these people haven't seen each other in like 10 years or 15 years, something like that. I would expect a little bit more,
Yeah.
Like we live in America, and I don't see you that often, but like I feel like we're more like emotional or whatever, like when we see each other.
Yes. I'm not in another galaxy with little horseshoe crab people or hermit crab people.
Yeah, I didn't think you were dead at any point, and we're seeing you alive.
Yes, and we still embraced, awkwardly together. It was great. But I'm ragging on the show, but I did like this episode. It's funny because in the scenes where you don't get a lot, where there's not a lot of like just lingering on things, I was genuinely excited. Like, I bet you were excited about the one scene we got of Balin, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the statues that he was standing
I did look it up. I did look it up later because when my initial reaction was like, okay, he's just standing there, whatever, he's doing something. What is it? But I did look it up, and I do know about the Clone Wars episodes and the father and the son and the daughter and how they represent aspects of the Force and all that. So I think that does kind of go along with what we were kind of speculating, that he's he's tired of the cycle of light and dark, and he's standing on the palm of a statue of the father, which is supposed to represent the balance of the Force. So I'm very curious there, but I wish we had a little bit more to go on. And I really think that I think this show really relies on people to know a lot about the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yes,
probably too much.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the times with the characters, with Hera and Sabine and Ahsoka and Ezra, and all the characters from the shows, you can, as a non-watcher, you can kind of get the gist of it. But something like that, that's a pretty big thing, and to leave to kind of leave out there for someone who may not have watched it and may not ever watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the guys that I like to follow on Twitter, he is a audiobook narrator, and he's also one of the people behind Encyclopocalypse Publications. His name's Sean Durger. And Sean did this post where he talked about Ahsoka, and he's like, I've watched 8 episodes. I've never watched any Rebels. And I have to say that, I was satisfied with 65% of the show. And he had some other nitpicks, but he said that Thrawn was sort of a boring villain. And I thought that was very interesting because, I have a thing for Thrawn because of the expanded universe. And then I've seen a little bit of him in Rebels. But I was wondering, overall, what did you think of him as someone who didn't watch Rebels and wasn't into the EU as much?
Well, I was aware of Thrawn before this. I just had not read very much of him in there. I actually very much enjoyed Thrawn. He has that kind of cold, calculating kind of villain archetype that I appreciate a lot of the times. I'm going to call out Shockwave from Transformers.
Hell yeah.
And I really like that kind of thing. And I think he did a good job of showing that he was a step ahead most of the time, or thinking ahead. And I really like those kind of villains. So I did think he did a very, very good job. And the scenes where he kind of pauses, I feel like it works a little more, because it's just kind of like he's just so confident and sure that this is what has to happen. And you need to infer what I'm saying out of this. Like when he's talking to Morgan Elsbeth, it's like, the Jedi are here. They could mess this shit up. We need you to buy us some time. And then, that's basically him implying we're leaving without you.
Yeah.
And just the weight of way he says it, he doesn't say it, but this the impact he has saying it is so powerful.
Yep. Yeah, he's great. And the actor that plays him, whatever his name is, Mickelson, his last name. He's
Mickelson.
Yeah. He is just so great. It's just his facial expressions, because it's such a subtle role.
Yes.
But okay, so I truly like the fact that he was able to leave them behind and they're screwed, and he essentially accomplished what he wanted to accomplish without being defeated. I'm glad he didn't lose. I would have been really upset if he lost.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, though, that it's in the books, he's always intimidating because he's such an intellectual character, and he's always if he's playing chess, he's 5 or 6 moves ahead at least of everyone else. And in this, he does he everything he does is competent, but what he throws at them isn't really intimidating. I think the implication of what they're trying to say about his character is that he's competent, he's intimidating, but what he's actually throwing at them, the idea of what he's throwing at them is intimidating, but the execution of it is not, right? Because they're in a fucking Star Destroyer that's on the planet, and it's blasting the planet, and the blasts are hitting just right near them on their little fucking rat horses that they're on. And those blasters, they're supposed to be things that would just like carpet bomb a planet and just like make craters all over a planet, you know? And it's just, go ahead.
No, I was just nodding in agreement.
Yeah, like the kind of the blast that's coming down and striking near them is like the equivalent of like something from a TIE fighter, which is just a little fighter, whereas these are like coming from a Star Destroyer, you know? And so it's just a storytelling choice, because they could have not had that sequence. They could have just had them get to the temple and fight those stormtroopers, but they were like, okay, we're going to shoot down at them. But it's like that thing where it's like, it's not really doing anything. It's not adding tension. It's just there, you know?
I guess, because you're implying here that, you know, they weren't shooting directly at them, sort of like they should have been.
No, I'm saying that like what they're shooting from that ship should like one blast should make like a football size hole in the ground.
Okay, I got it.
And it's always like narrowly missing them on their little horses.
Well, because they were shooting at the base. That's how I took it. Like, you're seeing the blasts on the side go towards the, you know, spots below them than where they're standing. They're at the top. So that's kind of how I took it.
No. That's after they get to the base. They ride those rat things to the base, and they're shooting down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Fair.
But then, like, what did you think of the stormtroopers, or the death troopers, or whatever the fuck, zombie troopers? What did you think of them?
It was cool watching them get shot and then, you know, stand back up again a bunch of times. But it's still it's kind of like I miss seeing the stormtrooper in Andor and being like actually like terrified of it.
Yes.
Like you think that like, oh shit, it's a zombie stormtrooper. Like, this should be awesome, and it's just they're still bumbling stormtroopers that can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Right. And they're making that sort of that zombie kind of moaning noise once they get back up. They're like, ugh. I mean, it was an interesting visual with their glowing eyes and stuff, but once again, it's not exciting. And so, like, I think that the excitement that comes from the show, which is like not anywhere near as exciting as it could possibly be, the excitement is all based upon what choice are they going to make to get to where they want to be for the show. And like, I get excited if they make a choice that I haven't predicted, but I feel like every single thing that happened in this episode, we kind of predicted would happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. No, we were talking about if they were going to get left behind or not. And, you know, although they didn't completely get left behind, but like we said, that if they get left behind, there's got to be some major thing with Balin still that's unresolved, but they just didn't go that far with it.
Yeah. Well, what did you think of the whole thing with like Morgan Elspeth like getting turned into that sort of zombie warrior?
I did like that scene. I like the idea of it. You know, just the fact that they're offering a quote unquote reward, but it's just like zombie undeath sort of.
Yeah.
I did like that. It was kind of like sacrifice and service at the same time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool, but I never really got the vibe, even from Mandalorian, that Morgan Elsbeth was like a good opponent for Ahsoka, you know?
Right. She fought her then too. And she even had Michael Biehn on her team then too.
That's right.
Yeah. That didn't matter though. But no, I like that she kind of gave herself up. Like the part that you highlighted before, I totally enjoyed that. She's just like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself. And I like that she said for Dathomir, even though Thrawn said, you know, for the Empire. Now, one thing that Thrawn said, and I want to go back to that scene though, is he said to her, everything that we do for the Empire, for the safety of the Empire. And what's interesting about Thrawn in both the expanded universe and canon is that he's not really truly evil. Like, he does very like cold, almost like a Vulcan. Like, he does like logical things that could seem very cold and ruthless, but it's not like because he wants more power. It's like in the books, he's worried about this like external threat that I think in the expanded universe was like the Yuzon Vong. And then in this universe, we don't know what it is yet, but he leaves his people and joins the Empire so that they can protect against this threat. So like he wants the Empire and his own people to fight against this threat, you know?
Yeah,
And
and
I
he
like
put the
okay.
Empire as the strongest, the strongest that could, force in the galaxy, and he kind of pledged himself to it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's a logical move.
right, exactly. And so he says that thing. He's like, for the safety of the galaxy or for the safety of the Empire. And so it's like with that little line of dialogue, you're seeing his motivation and it syncs up with all the books and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But like with the Morgan Elsbeth stuff, with the Stormtrooper stuff, it's fun and it looks cool, but it just kind of feels flat the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, did you think that Sabine or Ezra or Ahsoka might die at any point?
I mean, if Sabine left, maybe Ahsoka would have died, but I think that would have been leaving her for dead twice, and I think that would be kind of dumb.
Redundant. Yeah,
Redundant.
yeah. And do you like that Ezra got away and then the other two got left behind?
Yeah, because it does satisfy some kind of arc. Like one of the goals was to bring Ezra home, and he did get home, but just they didn't go with him.
Yeah. I actually do like that too. So what do you think is going to happen next?
Like we said, Thrawn is gonna. Thrawn went to Dathomir. I'm assuming all the cargo is a bunch of all the dead stormtroopers that died in the last 15 years, and they're gonna resurrect them all, and they're gonna kind of rally the Empire.
Okay.
And then whatever is gonna happen on Peridia, with Balin and Ahsoka and Sabine, that's gonna play out, and I guess it's gonna tie together somehow.
Right. Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
That's all I got, really.
Do you think that all of that, every single thing that you described, is in Ahsoka season 2, or do you think that now we're on two different paths, and Ahsoka season 2 is the stuff that's on Peridia, and that the movie is something with Thrawn?
Okay, so we mentioned before about the writer's strike, and that just ended, and we still don't have the actors are still on strike though.
Yeah.
So I think that there's kind of like no chance in hell there's going to be any kind of a movie produced anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to stretch out. I mean, and also with same thing with the Mandalorian too. Like they're going to have another season of that. They'll probably have another season of Ahsoka as well. And then after that is when we'll probably get the movie. So I'm going to assume that's going to come 2 years, 2.5 years from now, something like that.
I mean, at least.
Yeah, and who knows what else in between? Obviously we have the Acolyte, but that's prequel stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we know the exact time frame of Skeleton Crew right now.
Yeah.
So, who knows what that has to do with anything? But I do think that there kind of has to be a season 2 of Ahsoka.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Can't let this shit hang for 2.5 years. Especially if we're going to have a Mandalorian season somewhere too,
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm just trying to think. So you think the chances are pretty slim that my Heir to the Empire movie that was like recast original trilogy characters is not going to happen?
No. I don't know if they're going to recast original trilogy characters. I think that's a great idea. I think that would be the smart move.
Yeah.
I do think there will be a movie, though, and it's just a matter of if they include those original characters or not, original trilogy characters or not.
Okay.
But I do believe there will be a movie, and it will adapt that story as best as they can without those characters,
mm-hmm.
and which may or may not be as satisfying. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, it'll be cool to see like the Mandalorian with like Grand Admiral Thrawn and stuff.
Yeah, no, it totally will. But it does feel like they're building to something together. Like I don't think they can have it play out in just a show at this point.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I guess we'll see what happens. But if you were going to rank this show among Obi-Wan Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, and 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, Where would and Andor.
Are we counting individual seasons of Mandalorian again, or no?
Let's do that. Let's do individual seasons.
Oh man, I didn't think about it like that. I'm going to throw this somewhere in the middle of the Mandalorian seasons. Maybe Andor is top of the pile.
Without a doubt.
I think I would put Mandalorian season 2 and then 1 after that, and then maybe I'll put Mandalorian 3 and Ahsoka kind of on the same level.
Okay, I like that.
Then I guess Obi-Wan, then Boba Fett.
Okay. Wow, I think we might actually be totally synced up on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to say about Ahsoka?
No.
Okay. So Ahsoka's done for now, and we're taking a little break from Star Wars. Finally, something's coming up that we usually tend to love. We love The Boys.
Yes.
And so now we have Gen V.
Yes, and to me, so I will talk about this a tiny little bit. I watched only the first maybe 20 minutes of the first episode so far.
Okay.
And the one thing I was excited about this and disappointed with the show in the sense, the main show is because this is like the X-Men arc. Like the Godolphin University is supposed to be the Xavier Institute.
Yes.
And they kept the name the same and all that, but the one thing I think the show has done wrong, the main show has done wrong, is that the focus is entirely on the Seven alone. I think, within the comics, they had parodies of like every team. Like there was the Seven was the Justice League, Payback was the Avengers, the G-Men was the X-Men, and they had allegories for like Teen Titans and like New Mutant, or maybe they had basically all the X-Team joke things. But I think that tying everything to just the Seven is I guess like a little boring to me. I don't want to say boring. I guess I just wish they expanded to have other teams, other sets of heroes.
Yeah.
Rather than not just constantly going back to the Seven.
I understand. Yeah, there's like way more to it. I guess like it's all just kind of streamlined with the idea that like they're all taking V or they have V in them already, right, as kids. And so, it's just like a lot smaller scale for the show.
Yeah. But production wise, it seems pretty good so far. Like I said, I'm only 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
And also with the comic at this point, you didn't know how the heroes were made, basically. Like you didn't know any of that, but now we do. So
yeah,
it does kind of put it in a different light.
So I've watched the first 3 episodes. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. I'm only going to hint at just one thing, which is there's one thing that happens in the first episode where I'm just like, how are they able to show this? Like, I know it's streaming and stuff. What's that?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Like, it's not like this, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's so ridiculous. But like, it's just like, I can't believe that they're able to show this on like a show.
Yeah. I mean, they've kind of done that a couple times already.
With the boys. Yeah. I mean, it fits with Garth Ennis and the comics and stuff, but you'll know about it.
True, yeah.
Yeah. I said that to Danny, and Danny like messaged me as soon as he saw it. So I'm expecting a message from you too.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let you know when I figure it out what it is. I'm assuming I haven't seen it yet in the first 20 minutes.
You have not. No.
Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah. Don't watch this around Brandon. Okay.
Oh, I don't. This is a show I don't watch around him.
Okay,
nothing on Prime is okay for him to watch.
Okay, good call. Okay, guys. So we are obviously talking about Gen V, and by the time of next week, there'll be 4 episodes of it. And Brian and I have this really good idea. It's Brian's idea. I don't want to take credit for it. To do individual episodes so we can like really review them and get into the nitty gritty. So we're gonna start popping up reviews of Gen V because we love this boys stuff, especially this boys Amazon Prime stuff. And you're going to see that starting next Wednesday.
And don't forget, we're going to be covering Loki as well.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that too. Holy shit. That starts tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Oh my God, there's no end of this stuff. I mean, until there's the fucking abyss because of the writer's strike.
The writer's strike, yeah. I've heard rumors that oh my God, then Doom Patrol the week after. Jesus Christ,
Oh,
three shows at once.
oh my God, I'm not going to be able to spend.
We're gonna have to rethink this. We're gonna have to just do an episode per show, basically.
Oh my God, wow. I'm gonna have to just, not interact with my children and my wife and just watch comic book shows.
Oh yeah, I have one of those too.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. Well, we actually have a lot of content coming your way. Make sure that you guys subscribe so you can watch me and Brian talk about all of it. But we love y'all, and we will